In ancient Greece, Aphrodite was the goddess of passion and pleasure and those who were to get married. In ancient Egypt, Sobek was the god of the army and military. And in ancient Rome, Ceres was the goddess of the farmers and crops. If the God of the Torah, Gospels, and Quran could be described as the God of one thing or one group of people, he would be described as the God of the migrants and refugees. For our very story as human beings begins with Adam and Eve, who after being banished from the Garden of Eden are refugees wandering as foreigners in the land. Noah builds an ark to take refuge from the flood. Abraham is told by God, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you." Abraham goes to Egypt as a refugee seeking protection from the famine. The Egyptian king attempts to rape Sarah, and God inflicts him with serious diseases because of his taking advantage of Sarah, the refugee. Lot has to migrate to Sodom. God destroys the people of Sodom because of how they treated the refugees and migrants who came to their land. Joseph and Jacob migrate to Egypt. And not only them, but also Jesus and his parents were refugees in Egypt. And Muhammad and his companions migrated to Medina after he was oppressed in Mecca. You are to have the same law for the foreigners and the native-born. I am the Lord your God. The migrant children of Jacob and Joseph are enslaved by Pharaoh and oppressed, and for that, God sends 10 plagues against Egypt. God then tells Moses, and he said, "Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt." And today, even you, my pure friends, stand as foreigners in the land like the prophets and messengers before you. You were beat and prevented from passing through God's earth. You were detained and imprisoned. You are threatened with being sent back to Pharaoh and Nimrod, from whom you escaped. The God of the migrants and refugees, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad will look after you and make for you a way that never crossed their minds. Just as he made Abraham rich and gave him Hajar, just as he brought Joseph to the throne of Egypt after he was in prison, and just as he gave Muhammad an army in Medina to conquer Mecca, so shall he do for you. The followers of Moses said, "We are being overtaken." He said, "No, my Lord is with me. He will guide me." Do as you will, for verily, you are but paving the way for the inheritor.
I'm here today with our brother Hussam al-Hakim. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. He goes, alayhi salam, in the post, talking about, for example, the start of when the status of refugee started. You know, when did the human being actually became a refugee? It started with Adam and Eve. Even the Prophet Muhammad and the believers in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were refugees at some point. They had to move from their hometown to go into a different town. Over 108 million people around the world are displaced forcefully. When you start to look into the numbers and you see, like in Syria, for example, over 6.5 million people left Syria because of what's happening. And they went where? To Iraq and the different neighboring countries, where countries which themselves are struggling with refugee issues. So you can see the world is today, at least, really needs the Imam alayhi salam to talk about the refugee issue and the crisis that's happening.
So Hussam, why do you think that the riser, Abbas Sadiq from Hemisphere, made this post?
Why he would make such a post? This is something that's like, I think when I first read this thing and I read through it and I read it again, just so that it can sink in, it really hit home, because there are millions of people who are suffering around the world. And we do not find the world, for example, you know, the world leaders and the governments and the scholars of religion, we don't find them really addressing this problem directly like he did. And this is one of the evidence for him. He must be the Qa'im of al-Muhammad, the riser of the family of Muhammad, the one who, the Mahdi, right? Who comes and spreads justice in the world. How is he going to do that except that he talks about something which is so pressing, and it's a human crisis that's happening all the way around the world. As we said earlier, 108 million. You know, that's a lot of people being displaced forcefully from their homes. So then, who's going to talk for them? Who's going to talk for them and be their own voice except the Qa'im of al-Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam? And it's just as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi was given victory by God. Our God is the God of the refugees and the migrants. Our God will grant victory to those who are oppressed around the world, the refugees and the migrants. This is why we have a studio and we're talking day and night about their cases, and this is why we have open field for everybody to send and upload their videos on our website. So if people are oppressed, you have a stage. The Imam alayhi salam, the Qa'im, the riser of Muhammad al-Muhammad has placed a stage open for you. Upload everything that you have. Show the world your oppression.